Everyone, Dr. M. Graves here with Christy. Today we're taking coronavirus questions. How do we continue to sort through kind of the misinformation and the confusion and the changing guidelines day in and day out? So I'm going to do my best. Obviously, this is October 6th, I think, today. The data could change tomorrow. My opinion could change tomorrow. So it is what it is. It's just kind of how it goes, but we'll try to get you good information as much as we can today. So go ahead, Christy.
Thanks, Adam. There's a lot that has happened in the last week in our country, and we continuously are given information that differs almost day to day. And you and I have talked in the past how politics can play such a big role in what information we're given and we receive, and then how we make our own choices. I'd love for this to be a very non-political, non-biased discussion on what is really going on, what you are what research you have seen, who you're talking to. Can you first tell us how you are getting your perspective? Who are you talking to? How do you get your information?
Sure. So I guess how I get my information is kind of a story of my life, but I was raised in a rural community in South Dakota. I went to undergrad in Tulsa, Oklahoma, conservative Christian college. I went to naturopathic medicine school in Seattle. It's kind of like Boulder, but a college for 5 years. I've traveled and studied in Israel and the Middle East. And so ultimately, the way I view things is we all have our biases, left-leaning, right-leaning. If we're unaware of those, we're making choices based on those biases. Only by being aware of our biases are we able to kind of step back from our biases and our belief systems and really try to look at the science and the data, that before it's kind of manipulated by one party or the other in an attempt to kind of steer the story. I don't think, I guess so what I do is, I check both left-wing news, right-wing news. I have friends from undergrad that are medical doctors, conservative. I have colleagues and friends from Bastyr that are brilliant naturopathic doctors. And so I have kind of this medical community on both sides looking through the data, giving their opinion, and I just kind of day in and day out sort through that, and then also combine what I'm seeing in my clinical practice to kind of make a all-around kind of best predictions or assumptions or conclusions.
Good. Many of us need that right now. Thank you. So let's get to it then. What is the latest? How serious is this, especially to, let's say, a community member in Douglas County or somewhere, just average America? How seriously do we need to be taking this? How worried should we be right now?
Well, I think it's kind of, at first, getting in the spring, we didn't have a lot of good data. Now we have data from multiple different countries, multiple different sources, even something like we have data in Douglas County from, grade schools that have been full-time kids in school with plexiglass and no mask, hybrid kids in school with mask, partial days, and kids at home. So now that we have all this worldwide data, we have even local data. So, and it's kind of the same that's come out, when this was kind of getting through April, May, that the problem with the coronavirus is, for most people, it isn't, in my opinion, it's, like I said, a very severe flu. You don't want to get it. You don't want your kids to get it. You don't want to pass it to anybody you love. You don't want to infect anybody you love. But there's a lot of buts and a lot of caveats. If it is a severe flu, the majority of people will recover. Now, there is some outliers. There is some people we call long haulers, and there is some kind of outliers where people die, and there is a very at-risk population that we know this can be very deadly in.
Can I ask you a quick question about those outliers? Because I hear a lot of stories about a month, 3 months, 6 months after people have had it, where they're dealing with serious issues. And that's kind of the information that I've been receiving, which worries me just as
Yep.
much as any other effect. So can you talk about that and how, what your perspective is on those stories?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that's life. Even without coronavirus, flu years and healthy people die of the flu. There's kids that die of the flu. There's always outliers. Now, I'm a big believer in not making decisions out of fear. I'm a big believer in trying to make decisions out of empowerment. So you have to look at the whole data. Yes, we have a very at-risk group, elderly, obese, hypertension. We also have these outliers, but the majority of the data, the majority of the people that get this, get it and recover and are fine. How do you make public policy and public health decision based on that? I don't know. But at the same time, making a personal choice, I don't believe in living in fear. I believe in like, hey, okay, yeah, we do have some data that people are getting this and sick for 6 months, 3 months. So we know that can happen. It's most likely not going to happen. But at the same time, it comes down to that combination of kind of how, what can the public health do and what can we do personally? I feel it's like, hey, I'm always not always, but take my health very seriously and invest time, energy into my health. And that's all we can do is prepare, expect the best, prepare for the worst. So ultimately it comes down, the healthier and more time you can take investing in your health, your chances of getting mild, recovering are going to improve.
Okay, let's break this down before I ask you how exactly we can do that. We're hearing, so some of us may have been wiping down groceries 6 months ago, and we just
Yep.
didn't know what to do. So
Yep.
how right now, what's your perspective on, and what you're seeing, what the research is saying of how you can contract this? How worried
Yeah.
should we be with kids in
Yeah.
school or touching our groceries anymore? Or tell me about all that.
Yeah. So I think that's where I'm a little confused how this, how to be kind about this, and people don't like swearing and blah, blah, blah. I can't make everybody happy, but if you can't agree it's been a complete shit show, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
But it is a virus. It is transmitted through aerosol, so breathing. So if someone's infected and breathing, they're spreading that virus. So that's on the giving end. On the receiving end, you have to spend enough time breathing in that aerosol into your sinuses, into your mouth, for that virus to start to get hold into your sinuses and replicating, and then kind of affect your whole body.
Well, that's
So
interesting.
it's spread just kind of like the flu.
So if you're standing next to someone in the grocery store for 2 seconds, that's not,
Usually not. No, if it's minutes, because you have to have you have to breathe in so much viruses to actually get them infected. One virus isn't, it's possible, but highly unlikely, one virus isn't going to infect you. So, but standing in close proximity and, a packed bar or a packed house with 20 people, that it's in a closed room and everybody's breathing and sharing the same air. Obviously, it's just like the flu. Your chances are going to go up. So, and it comes down the same, man. If you're an at-risk population or you're worried, you have personal choices you can make. You don't have to constantly be worried about what politics and people are doing. You can educate yourself and be like, hey, okay, maybe this is a situation, I'm going to go to a crowded place. Maybe I don't need to do that right now. Or maybe I can do it outside. Anywhere there's airflow, anywhere there's circulation, it's kind of like the flu. It's, that's why the flu spreads over holidays, packed houses, things like that.
What about the elephant in the room? What about the mask?
Well, I think
I
masks
guess there's a couple elephants in the room right now, but let's talk about the mask.
Yeah, and I think that's a problem. We really, our brains, we all want simple answers, black and white answers. We don't want to think about stuff. We want it right or wrong, black or white, left or right. Masks aren't a cure, but masks do offer some protection. I think we have plenty of data on that now. I mean, you have the Asian countries that were early exposed to coronavirus started wearing masks right away. Their numbers stay down. It's obviously an aerosol. It's a virus you breathe out. So covering your mouth, having the fabric catch some of that virus, catch some of your saliva, is going to help reduce things. Now, is it a magic bullet? Is it going to save your life if you're, 90 years old and have multiple health issues and kind of, one foot in the grave anyway? Is a mask going to magically save you? No, let's be honest. But will offer some protection? Most likely, yes.
Okay, so we've heard about this now. We know about the distancing. What are some actual things you talked about keeping our health in check? So if we do unfortunately contract it, we have a better chance of surviving this in a healthy, not too bad of a way. What would be some possibilities, like some things that we could take, supplements or things that we could do to try and make this?
So I think first it's kind of, we're at a point with coronavirus, in my opinion, it's just, we can't afford to not invest in our own individual health. So what that looks like is pretty simple. It doesn't have to be financially, but taking stock. Are you sleeping 6 to 8 hours of night of deep, good, restful sleep? Overall, how does your immune system do? Is every year you're getting a cold or flu or virus once a month, all winter long? Or do you get a cold and virus once every few years? So you can, how's your stress management? How is your energy level? How is your physical fitness? How is your weight? And I don't try to, I believe in health at any weight, and people can be larger and healthy and larger and unhealthy, but is there excess weight and things that, we've been comfortable, we're kind of spoiled Americans a little bit. And this isn't a time we have to take some stock and be like, okay, there's no government agency, the healthcare profession, they're just, in my opinion, aren't equipped to really help us through this. And it has to come from our own individual responsibility. You got to educate yourself, check in with your sleep, check in with your movement, check in with your hydration, clean up your diet. It's all unromantic, unsexy, basic health standards. It's not rocket science, but it's simple stuff you can do every day. And supplements, in my opinion, play a part of that. Like vitamin D.
Vitamin D, okay.
Vitamin D, we don't quite know. I mean, is vitamin D antiviral? No, but vitamin D isn't actually a vitamin, it's a hormone, so it does regulate the immune system. Is it going to make up for not going outside and getting natural vitamin D and going outside and walking and being active? No. Is it a little bit of help? Yes. So it's kind of looking at all those things and trying not to attach onto one thing and be very tunnel vision, which in my opinion, the culture kind of is, and taking a step back and looking at things very holistically, and which is harder and a little more confusing, but in my opinion, well worth it. And so vitamin D, I like vitamin C, zinc, things like that. And then sometimes having people a probiotic, there's research, people who, and this is outside of coronavirus, but there's research that when people take probiotics through the winter, they get sick less often and less severe. I recommend vitamin D through the winter in Colorado, in September through Memorial Day. If you're out in the summer, I don't worry about it. A good multi, let's be honest, how many of us eat 5 to 10 servings of fruits and vegetables a day? Besides me, I'm sure. But the majority of people, and a multi isn't going to save you, but a multi may be enough just to kind of cover a little bit of your bases.
And people can always call you for a free 15-minute phone call and ask, hey, how much vitamin D should I be taking?
People have questions. If people have questions, there's a lot of confusions. I mean, you can go on the website and our blog, there's literally 3 years of so much free information and data. You can do that. You can schedule a free consult, and you can call and you can say, hey, this is what's going on. I'm so confused. I'm overwhelmed. How can I navigate this? I'm happy to help. That's what I do. It's what I've done, for the last 15 years. So there's resources available.
Okay, I have 2 last questions for you.
Yeah.
What if we unfortunately contract it? What should we have in our cabinet, our medicine cabinet, to take immediately?
Okay. Well, first, let's go back to, this is a virus, so use your common sense. If you feel sick, if you feel like you have a fever, it's just like the bad flu. Stay home. Don't go infect any people. Don't, just take care of yourself, man. That's the first thing, is rest and hydrate. If you feel like with any cold or flu or virus, we have this mentality. It's like, oh, I'm sick, I just got to push through it. This isn't a time to do that. If you feel like you're coming down with something, you need to make that a priority. You need to rest and hydrate, sleep, allow your body to do what it's evolved or created for the last thousands of years to do, to fight off colds and flus, if you rest and take it easy. A lot of times what we have seen, not so much with coronavirus, but in the past with really bad flu seasons, is the people that did die, it's the people that were getting the flu but continued to work, continue not to sleep, continue to push hard, and then 5-6 days later their symptoms are so severe they got to be hospitalized. If you're getting a fever, if you feel sick, shut things down, reduce your things, take off work, take naps, sleep, Epsom salt baths, tons of hydration, just very simple TLC. Now, I like to add herbs on that. Are these herbs scientifically proven to coronavirus? No, because coronavirus is new, so we don't have a lot of data. Now, we have a lot of data on pharmaceuticals that treat viruses and respiratory issues. We have a lot of data on herbs that treat viruses and respiratory issues. Do we have a lot of data on those meds and herbs with coronavirus? No, not yet. Hopefully that's coming, but I'm not holding my breath. But obviously with any colds and flus, outside of rest, hydration, taking care of yourself, I'm a big fan. I use a lot of the acute immune. You've used it with your kids. You've seen it work.
My kids, and I have to say, so far, it has worked.
Yep. And the thing with herbs, you want to use them first. You want to carry them at home. You want to, at first sign of sniffly nose or feeling off, you want to start the immune boosting herbs right away, because herbs work best early on to support your body. After you've been sick for a week, or you're coughing and there's inflammation, or you're run down, herbs work, but definitely the effectiveness goes down a lot. That's the same with medication. That's why even Tamiflu, the medication for flu, they would say is only effective in the first 24 to 48 hours. It's the same with herbs. That's why you have to really be responsible for yourself. If you start feeling sick, even if it's like, oh, maybe this is just a mild head cold, let me take some immune herbs for 2 to 3 days. If it doesn't progress, great, go off the herbs. If it continues to progress, keep taking the herbs and resting till you get over it.
And that's why I always like to have it in my medicine cabinet. If I'm going on a trip, I just throw it in my cosmetic bag just to have with me.
There's Acute Immune Wellness Formula by Source Naturals is what I recommend. You can buy it at Sprouts or Vitamin Cottage. It's just big tablets, so make sure you get the capsules. But Wellness Formula by Source Naturals is a great kind of immune booster. There's tons of other ones. But those are readily available to everybody. And is it going to magically save you? No, it's just trying to do all we can so that at least we feel like not victims and not like the world's and life is crushing us. It's like, okay, yes, these things are happening, but how can I respond to that, take action, feel empowered, and move through this, versus feeling like, oh, there's nothing I can do except wait it out.
Let's succumb to it. One last question.
Yes.
Vaccine.
So,
I mean, this thing comes out, what should we expect? Not that you have the answers for this, but
I think people, I'm not with anything, I'm not pro-vaccine. I'm not anti-vaccine. I think I'm, you know, usually somewhere in the middle is kind of the way I believe. I think vaccines can be safe and effective. Now, you know, we look at the flu. All of us grew up with the flu. All of us have been around as the flu vaccine has been introduced and worked on year after year. And is it magically saving millions of lives from the flu? No, that's not what the data says. The flu vaccine helps, but it's not a magic bullet. So, one, I don't like vaccines that are rushed. So if you're at an at-risk population and if you feel the need to get the vaccine, great, I support that. I'm more of a like to kind of hedge my bets. Let me see some good data after that vaccine has been released into the public, after we've seen its effectiveness, after we've seen the side effects, and then I like to make my choice based off that. So I think rushing a vaccine and expecting it to change coronavirus and expecting us to go back to this new normal is kind of an oversimplistic view of health and public health and wellness. So the vaccine may eventually help, but I would not promise it's going to be a magic bullet at all. We've seen the flu. We've seen the flu vaccine. Has the flu vaccine been a magic bullet and eradicated the flu? No. Has the flu vaccine protected some at-risk populations and people and helped them not get the flu? Yes, but it hasn't magically made it go away. So in my opinion, no coronavirus vaccine is going to magically make this go away. We're going to have to continue to adapt and change and figure out how to be resilient, because humans are, and go on and move through this thing while we're figuring out how to navigate the coronavirus. So the vaccine may be a step in the right direction, but is it going to be a cure-all? No, I wouldn't hang my hopes on that. Just like I don't hang my hopes on the government or the politicians or the CDC anymore either, because with the last 6 months, as you can see, we're kind of in it ourselves. You know?
Yeah,
And
which is why I bring up these questions, because
yeah.
I don't know what to believe or who to turn to, and I don't think I'm the only one. And
no,
I just
everybody's confused.
you know, I'm not holding you to these answers. Like you said,
yeah.
it could change tomorrow. And I just appreciate your perspective and this kind of conversation and discussion that does not have politics involved, does not have a bias involved.
Yeah.
You're strictly looking at the information that you've received and looking at it from a holistic point of view. So thank you so much.
Oh, no. I don't know. I can't promise it's helpful, but it's just, it is what it is. You know, we have to take out emotions out of this. Yeah. We need to be adults about this, you know, and unfortunately our leaders aren't being adults, and ultimately this is an issue that we all got to be adults and take care of ourselves and decide what's best for ourselves and for our families and our loved ones. That's the best tip I can give. Is everybody, there's no one can tell you how to make those choices for your family. You have to make those choices. And if something happens, you infect someone or someone you know dies, like that happens, you got to decide if you're able to live with those consequences. I've kind of worked through those issues, but everybody's got to work through those issues on their own.
Oh, well, that gives us something to think about.
Well, we all got to make sense of death. I mean, death is, right? I mean, we knew people were going to die from this in the beginning. It's sad. It's unfortunate. People are going to continue to die. We're doing our best to mitigate those deaths, but it's impossible to not have any deaths at this point. We're in the middle of it. We got to keep moving through and changing and adapting and taking care of each other and taking care of ourselves and being kind to each other, and just stop expending all this energy on hating each other and being angry at each other. It's the most inefficient, unproductive, ridiculous thing I see. We have all these brilliant, loving, kind people in this nation and in this world. And if we could just let go of our egos and let go of the anger and start working together, this isn't something that needs to destroy our lives.
Well, I think that's a good ending. Thank you.
That might be a little. Yeah, I mean, it's hard, but it's just be kind, man. I don't know why people are struggling to be kind. And let's be honest, this is confusing and tearing each other down and fighting, and isn't productive for our mental health, isn't even productive for our immune health, you know, and that's what we need to be focused on now.
Well, thank you for all of your
Yeah,
advice and
that's probably
perspective.
more opinion than you wanted. So,
Maybe we'll do a follow-up. No, thank you so much.
well, you better let us know. We're here if you need any help, and love to y'all, and have a good day, guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.